I'm going to go line by line with you and tell you how to simply explain the purchase agreement to the sellers so that way you can lock up deals. You need to know this agreement backwards and forwards because the last thing you want to do is spend money on marketing, find a motivated seller, negotiate a price that works for you, and then fumble the bag because you don't even know your own contract. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. This is exactly how I explain our purchase agreement to homeowners. So the first part of our contract, we tell the seller to make sure that their name is spelled correctly right at the top. So Mrs. Seller. Follow Mr. Seller, you'll see our company name, Quick Cash Offer. And then right below that, you'll find our property address. You want to make sure that's spelled correctly. Now, excellent, Mr. Seller. Right below that, I want you to see that we're buying this property in its as-is condition. And then right below that, that is the purchase price that we're buying it for, which is the $200,000. Now, if you realize the goal of this is to kind of break down everything and be the expert. Now, as we're going line by line, I'm not reading line by line. So in paragraph 1, we talk about closing costs. Am I going to give the example of 1,000 things that closing costs covers? No, I simply say, hey, number 1 is closing costs. Anything closing related that involves the title company or the closing attorney covered by us. Number 2, encumbrances. Anything you owe against the property, liens, judgments, anything like that, comes out of your proceeds. 3, tax prorations. You will pay taxes up until the day you sell the property. If you happen to pay them in advance, you'll get a credit back. 4, close of escrow. That's just a fancy word for that's when our closing date's going to be. So that's when you and I are going to go to the closing table and buy the house, and you're going to sell it and walk away with your check. 5, earnest money. This is where we're going to send our deposit. 6, due diligence. This is where we're going to do our walkthroughs of our properties, find out everything that's going on, make sure everything you told us that over the phone is deemed true, and that way we can verify the information and get our guys inside. Number 7 talks about buyer's continued access. This just allows us to get the access to the property to do what we were going to do on number 6, which is get into the property to do said inspections. Of course, if you have tenants, make sure that they can let us in. We'll coordinate that with you about 24 hours in advance. Number 8, it's 2 parts. Ours is broken up in 2 parts. One for if a property's vacant or going to be vacant, or one if there's tenants. If it's going to have tenants in it, we say, hey, this paragraph says that, hey, I do have a tenant and we are taking the tenants over. We will need to be supplied leases or tenant estoppels to make sure that everything about the rental income is true. And then if it's vacant, it just says, hey, this property is vacant and will be vacant by closing. Or if it does have tenants or owner occupied and it's going to be vacant, simply states you're buying the property with an owner occupant. The property will be vacant by the time of closing. Number 9, title documents. This is just saying that you'll get a copy of the title report. I'll get a copy of the title report. So that way we both are transparent about what the heck is going on with this property. 10, now Mr. Seller, this is title delays and extensions. It's the only thing that could hold up our closing. For some reason, something gets caught on our title commitment where it's a judgment or a lien that no one's aware of or an open permit. This just allows an automatic extension to our closing date to solve those issues on your property. 11, title insurance. Simply means that we have to make sure title's clear for us to buy it. If for some reason we can't get it clear even with that extension, we're all free to walk away. Next is seller representations and warranties. This is in 3 parts. First part says, A, you own the property and you have the right to sell it. B, that you'll maintain the property in its current condition from we first do our walkthrough all the way to closing. C, it understands that anything you leave behind after closing is now our possession. So please take everything you want, fridge, stove, couches, anything you want to leave behind. By all means, feel free to do that. We'll junk it out or donate it if we can. Just please understand that once we close, this is our possession. We have the rights to do what we want. Next section is default by parties. So for some reason, one of us doesn't go to the closing table, there will be consequences for said parties. For us, if we do not show up at the closing table, you will get our deposit. Next is our pre-marketing agreement. This simply allows us to use external websites like MLS and other third-party websites to pre-market the property if we need to. This will allow us to look for potential renters or potential partners or buyers for the transaction if need be. Number 18, memorandum of contract. This simply allows us to record a memo against the property, which means that we have equitable interest in it, meaning that we want to buy it, and we are allowed to record this with the county to make sure that all parties know that we are intending to purchase the home. Number 19, no oral changes to the agreement. Simply means that everything we talked about is in this agreement in black and white. And if for some reason we want to make a change to this, everything else needs to be in black and white. And whether that's done by an addendum or whatever, it needs to be in writing and signed by all parties. Number 20 is additional terms and condition. We don't have any additional terms or conditions, but if I did, I'd have a bullet point of what the additional term and condition is, whether that's a post-occupancy or a tenant increase in pay or some kind of credit to the buyer or the seller. I'd add it in that and then go over it. And that's it. 2.5 pages of some stuff that's extremely, extremely easy if you understand your contract and know how to go over it. For example, if you guys have ever bought in a car before and you go to the finance department, you'll find out that guy has a stack of papers. Imagine if that guy went word by word in that agreement. You'd lose your mind. You get bored, you'd have buyer's remorse, seller's remorse, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. We're looking for the expert, the guy that's gonna flip through the panels and say, this is what this is, sign. This is what this is, sign. This is what this is, sign. And then you close. That's what we want. Don't get me wrong. There's guys out there that send these things blind. Can they get them? Sure. That's not what we do. We like full transparency. We found out that just sending them blind leads to questions later. That means deals not closing. And that's what we're trying to avoid. And again, if you guys found this helpful and you guys want access to these strategies and processes that we use here in our own company in today's wholesale real estate market, and you want help from me directly, click the link below to join our community, Wholesale to Wealth, where we can help you get your very first deal or grow you from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5. And I see that only 10% of you that watch my channel are subscribed. Before you go, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the free wholesaling value. See you in the next one.